It is my good friend and your good friend. Everybody knows him. Ed Jones. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. I'm hanging in there. All of us are a little stressed out, but I'm making the journey happen.
Uh, you know, um, I don't know. We will stick on the good health of our soul, body, and mind because if we talk politics, they don't make enough. You don't have enough supplements to calm my nerves.
Nope, nope, and nope. I have done a lot of CBD this morning. I will have far more.
That's funny. And just as a side note, they do make CBD oils different thing for different reasons, right?
That's right. There's not one size fits all. So you want one for sleep, maybe one brand. You want one for better thinking or anxiety, it may be another brand.
I came in and bought some mushroom some droppers from just the oral that dissolve in your mouth. I bought those and I did not realize that they have different type of mushrooms for different things as well.
Oh, it's significantly different on mushrooms. There's one like lion's mane that mainly is for quick thinking. And then you have reishi, which doesn't do anything for your thinking, but can help stop a migraine headache. And it also stimulates the immune system. So every single one has a different purpose.
Well, we're about to jump in your podcast for a few minutes because you've had some great conversations over the last few months that we just haven't touched on. We've always talked about new products and stuff, but someone that you know probably just because I've talked about her, and someone that's been on this podcast many times, Chastity Snowden. She's a world CrossFit Games competitor. She lives in Florida. She's from Ringo, but she does nutritional coaching to people around the world. But the reason I bring that up, I talked with her recently, and she has been experiencing these headaches for the last 9-10 months. And she said something to me on a video, which I thought was right up your alley. She goes, I've been going to doctors, and I found that my doctors are really good, but they're only treating symptoms. I've got to figure out what's wrong with me. So now she's going to a holistic doctor, and she's getting somewhere with it.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's really a change of kind of like the change of how you look at something. And the light will go off in most people at a certain point in our life that we are being treated with symptomatic processes and drugs rather than digging deep for the real issue. You know, if your tire's leaking air every day and all you do is you put a little patch on it or put one of those spare tire can things you squirt in there, which is really just glue that goes in. It's not really fixing it. You're not going to get a lot of miles out of it. So what does the common sense say? We need to figure out where the hole is and actually either replace the tire or really patch it where it will not leak again. Well, we're leaking terribly with poor health today. And I will say more and more people, because of COVID, one of the pluses and blessings, as everything in our life is a mixture. It's a bag of pluses and minuses. We easily focus just on the negative. Hey, I can do that too. But in the better sense of where I can be, I see both sides of that. COVID has made all of us reappraise our health. It's also made us realize if I get sick, what good is it that I go to the doctor? It actually could be worse. So I better learn stuff, embrace this difficulty that we're in.
Well, and two, if you keep just patching the tire, eventually it's going to blow out and then you're going to have really big problems. So if you take that same analogy with your health, you can keep treating symptoms. And at times you do need to treat symptoms. That's, I think it's okay to treat the symptom. But if that is your only way of managing your health, eventually your body will have a blowout because you've not taken care of it as much as you should have. So she said that to me in a video. And the first thing I thought of was, well, Ed Jones would be just so happy with that statement. I tried to get you on a couple on about another 10 or 15 minutes, but I want to talk a little bit about some of your recent podcasts. And the good thing about what you do in your podcast is we can talk about it, but it's also a good way of talking about some decent topics and you can expand on it for health reasons. You did one, and it's been a while. I want to go back and ask you just to tell me about this podcast, why you desperately need collagen and how to produce it naturally. What is that about, and why should people listen to it?
Well, let's just talk about what happens to us if we don't have collagen. We get very wrinkled. Our skin gets very loose. Our joints are going to hurt because collagen is really like glue that holds us together. That's why my little grandson has perfect skin, and we normally do till about 24 years old. And then you actually start seeing things happen just because of the degradation of collagen. And we can help stimulate that through different methods, one of which people buy collagen powder. I'm not the biggest fan of that for the first choice. I really like something called BioSil, which is a type of silica that the body uses to build our own collagen. And I can say with total confidence that if a woman, especially, takes BioSil, she'll have less hair fallout. This is based in clinical studies from Canada, and her hair and skin and fingernails will be improved somewhere between 10% to 40%. You could do photos of a person before and after and give it 8 weeks, and you would see a difference most likely.
Wow. Okay. So that is episode, if you go back to the holisticnavigator.com at September 18th, then you did one after that called Taking on the Food Industry One Giant at a Time with, is it Vana Harry? Did I get that right?
Well, the Food Babe is her nickname.
Yeah.
She has over 50 million views, and she has forced over 12 companies to change their formulas, one of which was Subway, which was using an ingredient from a yoga mats in their bread. Kraft macaroni and cheese, very unhealthy. She made them change. On and on. Panera, blank, blank, blank. It's all on her website under the Food Babe. And her Facebook is wonderful. She is a activist. She's brave. She's taking a lot of heat because she calls out companies. I mean, she had a great post last month about the breakfast cereals that our kids eat, which they shouldn't, but that's what they market it for, and they know how to market. So kids buy Fruit Loops here. Well, she has the ingredient label of Fruit Loops in other countries. They use beet powder to color the red one. Here they use red dye numbers, whatever, which can be very toxic and cause ADD, just that red dye alone. In other countries, they laugh at us because their products made by the same company is so much cleaner. Now, it can still have sugar and other things, but it's a cleaner product. And Food Babe talked about a protein powder called Truvani. And, you know, I say this jokingly. Sometimes I think I know everything about my industry. I learned from her about the standards of protein, and no one tries harder than Nutrition World to vet the products, ask for transparency, look into the details. But Truvani went one step above all other proteins for cleanliness and purity. And if someone listens to that podcast, they ain't buying any other protein powder the rest of their life except Truvani.
Wow. Well, see, this is why I wanted to do these podcasts. These videos every couple of weeks, which I convert to podcast on during the break, and you can find it on Apple, is because I get to hear stuff like this. And sometimes, you know how it is in the podcast world, you read the headline and you go, I don't think I'd be interested in that. And then you start listening about it and you go, oh, no, that's something I definitely need to listen to or what.
Anyone who's doing a lot of protein powders would behoove them to listen to her on this.
You did one after that, October 16th. Everyone should be taking, is it berberine?
Berberine. There's actually two parts to that podcast. Berberine was half, and the other was something called PEA, which is a word that has about 40 letters in it. But berberine has been around for decades to help maintain healthy blood sugar and slow down aging based on this biochemical interaction between our cells. And I love berberine, and it is clinically studied with not hundreds, but I'd say thousands of studies showing its effects to improve our longevity, our health, and especially for people non-alcoholic fatty liver and who also have blood sugar irregularities. Again, I'm not treating a disease. You'd ask your doctor about it, but berberine's extremely safe. It's actually, many of the holistic doctors are using it in place of metformin, which is the drug of choice, and berberine is an alternative choice for that. But the second part of that podcast is on something that I have been very frustrated with in regard to observing people and how they get results on something. And I can pretty much say there's 90% of all things that human bodies struggle with. You can see vast improvement if you supplement right, eat, change your diet perhaps, sleep better, and look at a couple components of their health. The body wants to be healthy. It wants to heal, but we have created a real block for that. But the one area that even when people do the right thing, it doesn't seem to work is neuropathy, especially chemo-induced neuropathy. Once that nerve, which the nerve is like this, pencil is, there's a sheath on it inside of it's like electrical line. Of course, that's what messages to everything. Once that gets damaged, like in shingles, Bell's palsy, chemo, it takes the nerves longer to heal than any other part of our human body. So what could heal in 2 weeks somewhere else could take 4 months on nerves because it's so slow. And sometimes it just doesn't heal. And no pain is like neuropathy pain. It's a pain that can't be addressed with painkillers very well. Very few things help it. But PEA has clinical research, and I was actually interviewing an expert on PEA. So anyone who has chronic neuropathy may want to listen to that podcast. And again, they can ask their doctor about it, but it's extremely safe.
All right. So before we move on to the next podcast, berberine, is there a specific form, and I'm sure it's a product they can find at Nutrition World. Is it a powder? Is it a peel? Is there one that you take over the other?
You do not want powders. It's a bitter herb, so it would be very bad tasting. And I prefer capsules. And again, in here we vet everything to make sure it's the right company. But and you don't always follow the direction on the bottle because sometimes people need a little more than that. If I was really trying to control my blood sugar, I would do 1 pill with each meal. I do 3 pills a day. And at-home testing can certainly show whether it is something that is benefiting you. And or going to your doctor and having them do a hemoglobin A1C.
No, silly question. When you do your blood test at the end of the month, every last Friday in Nutrition World, is that a blood test they can take their blood sugar or not? Can they get that there?
Yeah, they can. And they get a A1C, which is the blood sugar test that basically averages your blood sugar over the past 60 to 90 days through this cool test on the red blood cell. So instead of a one shot, I've got 102 on my blood sugar. This is actually looking at 2 to 3 months.
The last podcast you did was last week, and it was how to get well and stay well naturally. And there's a picture of a gentleman up here. Was that a you podcast, or did you have a guest on that one?
I had a guest, and what this gentleman's done, and I love the term functional medicine, because what that really looks into is actually this thing right behind me is the tree that we try to explain the concept of functional medicine. And all this up here is the top of the tree, and all this down here is the roots. Well, without going into details, you can't cure this part until you go to the root. And we have to look at the root, which is sleep, stress, exercise, nutrition and deficiencies, the microbiome, and relationships. That is what makes up the roots that then will help healing of everything else. And so this gentleman, and what I really wanted him on the podcast for is I know there's a growing group of people who want to learn and be certified in this level of thinking. I never had this my whole career, but now we have the ability to access and become certified in functional nutrition. That means you could be a health coach doing something that no one else does. There's plenty of health coaches that are, generally educated, but functional nutrition is so much deeper. And so he has an online school, which he's done for years and years, to teach people how to become this. And I just love it because it now will allow people who are looking for a new path in life, who believe in this, to actually go somewhere and get a degree.
There we go. I had my mic on mute because sometimes if I make any noise, it'll interrupt you, and I don't want to do that. I was trying to find that gentleman's name, and I can't pull the podcast. I mean, I'm trying to multitask.
I don't remember.
Well, hold on a second. I'm going to pull his name up because I want people to go find it. So if you go to Ed's page, theholisticnavigator.com, and you pull it up, it's you reviewing it. It's Reed Davis.
Yep.
Reed Davis. Hey, listen, I'm sitting here on your page. Let me keep you one more second, if you don't mind. First of all, while I'm looking it up, do you have any new products you want to talk about there at Nutrition World? Anything that you want people to know they can come in and get?
Well, again, I'm excited about the PEA. I will say that again, go back to the original thing we talked about. I have been using a lot of CBD today because of the stressful moments that we're experiencing. And Garden of Life has one that mixes it with peppermint, spearmint, and lavender and frankincense. And it's called an entourage effect. That means that those effects of those herbs are adding to the synergy of the CBD. I did some on the way back from eating lunch today. I ate lunch at Southern Star downtown. I'm really enjoying their food. It seems to be far better than average food for quality. And I took about 5 sprays of it, and it was pretty dang dramatic how much better I felt in 5 minutes. I mean, it just took about 30%.
Well, and I'll go back and wrap it up to kind of revisit what we talked about the first. When I came in to get the golly gee, I should have it with me. What's the product you recommended? I bought it for both my kids. It's the immune product. It's on the front table. It's got all the stuff in it, zinc and everything.
NutriBio makes it. NutriBio company, and it's immune formula that has basically 7 ingredients in one bottle.
So I came in to get that and a little extra vitamin D, and I was asking about the mushrooms, and one of your guys was kind enough to direct me over, and he's the one that was kind of just showing me all of the different benefits and how every mushroom is different. So I ended up getting the lion's mane and the dropper. So, and I'm doing that in the afternoon instead of another cup of coffee.
Well, that's great. But always have it. If you feel foggy thinking, you got a big podcast coming up and you want to be on your game, do about 2 eyedroppers full in the mouth, let it sit 30 seconds and swallow it. But I have had 2 podcasts with a guy named Jerry Angelini on the Holistic Navigator. If you ever want to be excited about a product, listen to him about mushrooms. He is the king daddy in this whole United States about the true magic of mushrooms. You can take a mushroom and put it on an oil slick or where someone's dumped all this motor oil on the ground. And a mushroom has the ability to take it as food and then purify the soil that it came from. Mushrooms are unlike anything that lives on this earth. They're basically immune to every disease. They can clean up terrible waste. They can do so many magical things that could save this world, save this earth, and it's being ignored like many things. So Jerry Angelini, and it's listed mushrooms. So if you go back to the mushroom ones.
Well, it's not been ignored at Nutrition World because you have a half an aisle dedicated to the different type of mushrooms, which I enjoyed looking through. So
I'll tell you, 3 years ago, we probably had 6 containers of mushrooms. And when I started learning about mushrooms, it just exploded because I got to share that information with people who need it.
Well, I want to encourage, we're at 20 minutes, so we're kind of keeping up with what we normally do. I want to encourage people to go to nutritionw.com where you can shop online. You can also find content that Ed puts out. You can go to vitalhealthradio.com, listen to him and Dr. Green have their conversations, and that shows every Sunday at 9 a.m. on 98.1 The Lake locally, or you can go listen at thevitalhealthradio.com. And then, of course, your podcast, which I really enjoy. And, you know, it goes in and out of being one of the top podcasts on Apple when it comes to holistic health, the holisticnavigator.com. I appreciate the time because I know in the middle of a day, 20, 30 minutes, you could actually steal away and take for yourself. You jump on here with me. So thank you, sir.
Oh, I'm here for you.
All right, everybody, go check out his content and go shop at Nutrition World. Do what I do. Drop a little money. Take care of yourself. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Clint.
Bye, everybody.